You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
Now, not many people do we get back in a very short period of time, but not many people do we get back on this podcast ever to come back and make a second appearance. We've had people back 3 times, and I think we've had one person back 4 times, but they were to do with medical issues due to COVID and the misinformation and disinformation, so we cleared that, but not just when we have general chats to the people who wander around the streets and have made names for themselves, but Seb Costello, who is sitting here, we were the subject of some of the best advertising I could ever hope for. A couple of dribblers from the Australian. Let me tell you who they are. They're Jim and Jim Madden, and where did I write their names down? Jim and Jim Madden and Manning. They're the media writers apparently for the Australian, and they extraordinarily reprinted the whole of our chat, which I've never heard that done before, so I cannot thank them enough. They keep saying in other publications, how are you, Seb?
Sam, I had so much fun last time, I thought I'd better come back.
Yeah, well so this is why we've got you back, because we couldn't believe our luck. The Jim and Jim and other people, media, they all keep saying that I keep trying to remain relevant, and, I'm just doing this just to... They keep making me relevant. They keep telling us and the public what we keep doing on the podcast. As I said, we're the most scrutinised podcast in the land because probably we tell it as it is, unlike Jim and Jim, who... now, let me just tell you about Jim and Jim. These are they reprinted and this is how insignificant and how irrelevant Jimmy... let me just get his Jimmy Manning is. He was appointed to the media critic, I think, of the Australian, and this was he posted this. He said, "I made page 2 of the paper today." He's rejoiced in the fact that they put him on page 2 for some. How insignificant can you be when you're claiming that as a win? This is Jim, a bland-looking, flat-faced man, bespectacled, and he's the man critiquing us. You can't make this stuff up. You cannot get more gratuitous encouragement to do stuff like this. And then there's Jimmy Madden, who the ABC said this about Jim Madden. They believe that the Australian has, this is as a result of an article he did, believe there is a long-term pattern in the Australian, the ABC said, the ABC, God love them, said this, that they believe believes consistently breaches the Press Council principles of clarity, fairness and balance. That's what they said about one of Jimmy Madden's articles. So we're in esteemed company. These are dribblers who are critiquing us, and I'm not sure they reprinted. I'm not sure what they found controversial, but we chatted about. You made a point of not answering one question that I asked you because you thought I was trying to ambush you about something. But we're not going back over that, Seb, because you've given me written instructions about what to speak to. I've never had written instructions about how to interview people before. So what did you think of the blow? How did you get, what was the reaction to our chat?
Some of it was not good. Oh, come on. Don't give me the cricket so
no,
early.
Well, you was hesitating.
I had a look at the comments from your listeners, and the one that stood out to me was somebody said they found it difficult to listen to me because they felt that I was scared to be myself. And I thought about that one, and that one sort of did land on me because when I listened back to the show, that's what I heard.
Yeah. You've got to toughen up, Seb. I mean, this is you're taking note. We love people giving us comments, and particularly the bad ones. I revel in people saying you're such a cocksmack and all that sort of stuff. Honestly, it's fantastic. But so can we get you to be yourself today? Because we want Jim and what about those people? They actually make up. They reprinted the whole thing. Found that the questions that couldn't even reprint them faithfully or give comment accurately or honestly about me and the Chinese drivers. I didn't say Chinese drivers were bad. The article I read in one of the magazines said that they transgressed most of the road rules. I didn't say that. How would I possibly know that? And then you said, have I driven in China? And I said, well, that's got nothing to do with it. And then they asked about Obama. Obama's a crook. And I said that. And most people think Michelle is a bloke or a trans or whatever. I don't. That's just, how could that be controversial, all that? I gave examples of why Obama is a crook and dishonest and a charlatan. I gave examples of that. How could that be newsworthy?
Yeah, I mean, I think to go back to what I was saying, I did get in my head a bit before coming on last time, and I don't think I really did a great job of being myself, and that's because I hadn't done a podcast before. I'm used to asking the questions, and I wasn't really comfortable talking about myself, but I'm trying to get better at it. And I think I also got in my own head about sort of matching you for being a big personality, and I got in my head about thinking that the people who listen to this show, they want to be entertained.
And nuclear physicists.
Well, they sort of look up to sporting heroes. You're a football champion. Wayne Carey's a football champion. That's not me. I'm a 38-year-old, pretty average guy. I got a daughter. I've been a journalist for 13 years. I've got some funny stories to tell about that, but I'm maybe a bit more sensitive, as you mentioned, Sam. I'm not a sort of combative person as much as I don't mind standing up for things I believe in.
Well, so all right. Well, this is good. So we can get on to all this. So we can give you some credibility. And you've moved on. You've moved away from Channel 9 after 13 years, and we went over some of the controversies and controversial things you've done, which we're not certainly not going back on them. And you say are you married? Is there anything you don't want me to ask you?
No, you can ask whatever you like. It's on me to answer the questions.
Is Seb Costello out there on the market, or is he married? Or
no, I'm not on the market, no.
You're not in the market?
No, I'm not on the market, no. But can we talk about...
okay, so...
Well, no, you say it's the questions you ask and it's up to me to give the good answers, right?
No, it's the answers you want to give, Seb.
The answers I wanted to give last time was I wanted to come in, I thought, I listened to Sam's show. Sam does your show out of Melbourne, so I can come in. Sam's also worked at Channel 9 for a long time like I did. He's no longer there. I thought we'd have a chat about TV.
I got cancelled. Oh, well, I didn't get, I sort of got cancelled. I say I got cancelled because I said here on this podcast, I said that, do you remember George Floyd? What was his name? George Floyd? Remember him? Who the copper choked to death on the streets of... he died, and they said that was... then they burnt down America for 2 years as the George Floyd riots. And I said, well, it was unfortunate how he died, but he was a piece of shit, which he was. He had a string of convictions and assaults and batteries and of being a felon as long as your arm. And they said, oh, you shouldn't say that about someone. I said, well, that's what he was. Oh, I don't know why that's controversial. So the station said, oh, no, that you shouldn't be saying that. And the sponsors have got a bit jumpy about you being on the Sunday footy show after this is the main footy show finished. So I withdrew from the Channel 9 with absolute mutual agreement. I was delighted to withdraw because I was on the Sunday footy show. I don't know what I was doing. I think just fulfilling a contract. So I've been cancelled. So I don't know why this is. So you can't say anything these days, and that's why we do this podcast, Seb. Did I interrupt you from going on where you were?
All I was going to say was, I think the last time I came in to see you, you're welcome to ask whatever you wanted to ask. And in the 13 years that I had in television, you asked me about the half a dozen days where I had negative publicity. I think that if you spoke to the people who worked with me over the period of 13 years, they would tell you that there were thousands of days I showed up and I went about my work with care for the people who trusted me enough to tell their story. I had compassion for people and the plight that they were in. And, one of the things I respect you for is your conviction. You stand on what you say. And I definitely have approached my professional life with conviction. Right up until my last shoots at Channel 9, I was fighting with conviction for people who I felt had been mistreated by bureaucracy, corporate government, the little guy, and using my platform to try and make their lives better.
I don't think I asked you overwhelming majority of negative questions when we did this the other day. I don't think I asked you that. I asked you about who you'd spoken to, who were some of your interviewees. I did ask you why you went missing over in, but you told us the reason for that. I don't think I asked you any negative questions. I did ask you about some of the controversy, but that people sometimes like to be asked those questions so they can actually put the record straight. I asked Wayne Carey when he joined the podcast, let's address a few things that you've been accused of. He was delighted to give his version of events. And I thought, not many people get a chance to come on a podcast and say, no, that is actually not right, or this is what happened. And so I don't think I was too negative, except you specifically didn't answer two questions, which I shouldn't have kept going on about. I was just tongue-in-cheek doing all that. One of them was about a woman who said something about you, and the other was about an incident that we won't even mention again. But you could have just said, now look, I'll tell you, I can't speak about one of those things for a reason, and the other one was, I'm not going to tell you the word, and that's it. So, and I said to her, you ask me as many times as you like, and that's how you would answer that, Seb, rather than, that's what I reckon.
I did see some people say that they felt that I dodged questions, and that was...
That's fair enough.
That
you
was
dodge them, but sure, just I don't want to answer that.
I feel I padded up and asked them, but if I dodged them, it was because I gave the answers that were the right decisions for me, for my family, and if that meant it wasn't as entertaining for some people, then... That wasn't my intention.
Entertaining. But it's the most entertaining chat I've had for a long time. And, of course, the dribblers in the Australian, Jim and Jim, they thought it was extraordinary, so much so that they reprinted the whole lot and said that I was a ageing Clark. I don't know who they said I was. I was only sent the... Do they still print a paper, or is it only online now?
There's a hard copy.
Copy? I would have gone and bought it and framed it here, but I've never had a entire podcast reprinted in the paper, and I gave him a shout out when we did the podcast a couple of days ago. I said, thank you so much. I wonder if they'll pick this up again. They'll probably be warned off by the editor, because I don't think two of them have been, I don't think they've been hugely successful over their career just by doing a bit of research on them. One of them had I think they're just sort of a journeyman, is what we say in the industry, journeyman. You know, they just stumble from place to place trying to eke out a bit of a notoriety. You know, you said shit magnets we were. Well, we're sort of what's the other word for a magnet? Clickbait we are. And I think Jim and Jim tumbled into the fact that we're clickbait, and the Australian were delighted that they could belt a living broadcaster who's done some very, very eminent work, and a bloke who's not been a success, but he's been a survivor on free-to-air television for 27 years. I think they thought this would be a bit of a hook to get people to read their crap, and it was.
Yeah, I mean, I think a bit of the background to the Australian is probably they sent a reporter to chase my dad through an airport last year, and the reporter ended up on his ass, and so they sort of feel like they're in a feud with my dad. So if you read that column as you did, well, maybe you read part of it, the Australian's media column on Monday had an article about how they wanted Channel 9 to pay for the equipment that was damaged in the interaction between my dad and their reporter. And then on the back of that, I think they thought, oh, well, we'll get stuck into Seb and Sam as well as, as an adding on to that.
It was good. I'll just read out again what the ABC said about the Australian. They think, just if I can find where I wrote that down, they said where did I write that? And keep going. I'm going to read out what the ABC said about the Australian again when I was just doing Jim and Jim. I've got that many notes here. They said, it is the ABC's belief that there's a long-term pattern in the Australian that consistently breaches the Press Council principles of clarity, fairness and balance. That's a good rap for our ABC, who, I love the ABC. They did a Media Watch did a thing on us about some other thing. I should be on there. I should pay them for sponsorship. It's fantastic. But so I don't think that the Australian. So they also brought out the fact that I said, and I referenced that you pushed over someone. Was it Ricky Nixon or someone? Ricky Nixon. I spoke to Ricky Nixon during the. He said, Ricky said to me, you asked Seb on the show about what was the altercation, and while he was in the middle of an answer, you cut him off. And I said, gee, I didn't mean to do that. I'm going to ask you again now in a minute. But they said, she referenced the fact that, he's dead, you must... the low-hanging fruit doesn't fall far from the tree because your dad pushed over someone. It was just a tongue-in-cheek thing about it must run in the family, knocking over a journalist, and they got onto that and said that was a disgrace to draw a parallel between you and your dad and what that. Yeah, Jim and Jim, they're like Bill and Ben the flower pot men. I mean, what sort of interesting life would those boys have? Have you ever seen a picture of Jimmy? Madden?
James Madden. I think what was...
Madden. No, Manning.
Did James Madden ring you before he wrote the piece on Monday?
I hope no, he did not.
He didn't ring me either, which...
No, but why would you?
Well, I think...
No, they reprinted faithfully what we said. Why would you have to ring someone?
There's a little bit of editorial in there. I actually...
Was there? I just saw the fact that they said it was a train wreck, and I thought... That's fantastic. You can't take your eyes off a train wreck, can you? If you go out and you see a locomotive on its side and it's run into a passenger train, you'll be banked up for 50k people trying to have a look at a train wreck. They love it.
It's a bit of a cliche, isn't it? The train wreck interview.
Fantastic.
I don't think it was hardly Prince Andrew telling the world that he couldn't sweat anymore. You know, there were moments where I thought I could have done better, but I've set myself a new challenge, Sam.
What is it?
So... This may not surprise you, but I don't consider myself a particularly hard man.
What?
I don't consider myself particularly...
Not confrontational
tough
or...
and
tough.
Aggressive and all that sort of thing. That's not
you
really
you got a fair swagger about you, Seb. I noticed looking back on the interview that when I was chatting to you kept looking at the camera. You couldn't get your eyes off the fact that you were just speaking down the lens rather than to me. And I thought, have a look at this, will you?
I think I did that because that's what JB and Gary used to do on the footy show. I think I was sort of channeling that kind of thing. But no, so I have decided that the opportunity for me now, having finished up at Channel 9, is to go out and do things that I would never have done while I was still doing that. And so one of these things, this is going to, you might snigger at this, but I'm actually quite excited about this, is I've sort of quietly started training with Sam Solomon, the former middleweight boxing champion, at a friend of ours, the great John Locko of Brighton. And last night I had a meeting with Tai Tuinua from the Team Alice boxing promoters, and I am going to begin training with the intention to have a competitive boxing fight in August of this year.
They haven't
yet found... Have you got any ideas of who my opponent could be?
Well, have I got a few ideas. The aforementioned Ricky Nixon would be one. Do you think the chicken would be able to... the chicken's got a fair spot of rage on him when he puts his mind to it. I've had... he's stared me down on various occasions, and I thought... will I whack this man and be charged with a homicide, or will I just let him be angry and stare at me? And I've been fearful of doing things that I might get arrested for. So would the chicken be any good at this? What was this? Was the other thing? The chicken. What was the altercation with the chicken? You were after him as in your job as a reporter for a current affair, were you?
Yeah,
and
it's a pretty famous piece of vision, actually.
52 court appearances for the year, he swaggered out onto the street and you put the microphone in front of him and he said, "Fuck off," or something, or words to that effect. Then what happened?
That footage is now so famous. You know the ABC Media Watch show that you mentioned?
Oh, yeah.
The footage of Ricky and I is in the intro of Media Watch.
Is it? Yeah. It is too. Well, I don't watch Media Watch, but I possibly remember it because I wanted to see what they said about when I was on it. And they said, I'm trying to remain relevant. And there they are doing a show on me. It's extraordinary. The logic, the stupidity of people who run these media organisations to that extent, keeping saying contradictory terms, trying to remain relevant and making you relevant by actually speaking about you. It's extraordinary, isn't it?
So anyway, I'm going on this journey training. Can I mention that I've just started an Instagram account to detail this journey?
You can mention anything you like, Seb.
Okay, so it's seb.costello on Instagram. I'd appreciate people to follow that, and I'll be sharing the sort of positive journey I'm on. All right, I'll ask you this. Do you think people would be interested to see me and the chicken step into the squared circle?
Do I think people would be interested? I think the people who I'm not sure that it'll rival the George Foreman Muhammad Ali fight in the Congo back in the 70s. I'm not sure that it'll rival that, but I would think there'd be a certain level of interest because I think most of the people watching it would hope that either of you, depending on which camp you're in, gets your brains beaten out. I would think that people would hope you get a nice kicking, no matter who you follow. But we mustn't get over the top of our skis too early, Seb, which is, do you know what over the top of your skis means? Don't just get too confident about who you are and how smug you are and how good you are at all this. You got to just step into the arena and build up
do the work.
Credibility again. So you're doing the boxing with a view to building the shit out of Ricky, are you? Is that it? Does he know this?
No, I don't know if Ricky will be my... You suggested Ricky would be my opponent. That was my
Warwick
idea.
Capper, I think, is going to fight someone. He's been training heavily. What about the Wiz and Seb?
I don't mind that.
Seb and the Wiz.
What sort of shape is the Wiz in?
The Wiz is... don't worry about the Wiz. The Wiz has been training severely and heavily, hasn't he, Susie? Who's he? We got a partner of an opponent that he was meant to be fighting. I think he was going to fight one of the NRL boys. I've just made that up. I don't know who he was going to fight, but he's into serious training, the Wiz, and he could talk you into a defeat, let alone belt you into a defeat. So there you are, the Wiz and the Wiz and the chicken. I wouldn't take on the duck.
No, the duck can go. I seem to recall he was on a fight night on TV once.
Was he?
Yeah, there was an AFL versus NRL fight night. Might have been on Channel 7, but I think he's quite handy, the duck.
The duck could break a swan's wing with the blow of his nose. That's how tough he is. Now, what about some of your former compatriots or adversaries in the media that you have taken a dislike to, or just would like to just belt them into shape? Who would you like to have a crack at? Just out in the marketplace there that you run across?
I think
probably just keep it to men at this stage. You don't want to be fighting women.
I think I left the media without too many grudges. Is there anyone you'd throw up there as a name?
No, there's not. But what about people that you've interviewed that you've got
I've interviewed
on the wrong side of?
Yeah. Like the chicken. Okay, so in 2015...
What was the chick? Did you... See, here's the thing. People say you don't answer. It's my fault. Did you answer what was the angst with the chicken?
Do you want that story?
Well, for want of another question, I'd like that story, yeah. Or else I'll keep asking them and they'll say, why do you keep asking the same questions?
So, look, it started off like any other story where, I was taking on somebody who felt slighted. So to sort of set the scene here, you have to go back before the famous encounter on Bay Street, Port Melbourne, when we were contacted by a man who paid thousands of dollars to the chicken for a football.
Yes.
That the customer thought was signed by Melbourne Premiership players,
yes.
And the football did not contain legitimate or all legitimate signatures of Melbourne footballers.
I think the chicken's conceded this.
Has he?
I think he's had to. Yes,
he was charged. Well, before he was charged, we did the story, and again we spoke to him as he left Coles in Bay Street, Port Melbourne.
How did that conversation go?
It was in the COVID days, so we had our masks on, and that wasn't the first time I'd had an interaction with the chicken, but it was certainly it certainly wasn't a happy interaction.
I'm so tempted to ring the chicken. I haven't. If I rang the chicken, put him on speakerphone, how do you reckon that'd go?
I think we'd be back in the Australian. That's what I reckon.
Do you want me to try and do this?
You're going to do what you're going to do, Sam.
I'm not.
I can't control you.
I'm just going to have a go at this. This is.
No. I'd prefer you didn't.
Would you? The chicken's. He's a cream puff. He'll come on there and he'd say, do you want me to see what he'd say? I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll ring him up and I won't do it on speakerphone. I'll say, would you like to... No, you don't want me to do that, do you?
You do.
No, do you?
You do what you want, Sam. You do. I can't control you.
Yeah, yes, you can. I'm asking you.
I can't. You told me, we spoke off air yesterday and you said nobody controls Sam.
I didn't say that.
What did you say? You'd never agree to...
if you're telling me you don't want to do this... Hang on. Just... What?
No.
Hang on, just a minute.
Can I mention the Instagram handle again? Seb.Costello for some positivity. Yes. No, it's a new one. In fact, I've got to take it off private. Seb.Costello it is.
All right, why can't I find his number? This is God doing this to me.
That's right. This is
why can't
the
I
big
find
fella
his...
upstairs looking after me.
There he is. I won't put this on speakerphone. I'll just... Go ahead. Tell us the website again.
Seb.Costello on Instagram.
Yeah.
And it's, look, I'm going to share some of me, which is positivity and,
No, how lucky is that? That's gone to answer machine. So that's all right. No, so that's fine. I would never set you up by having a prearranged thing, but I was going to say, I've got Seb here. Would you like me to put you on speakerphone? You say yes or no. So there we are. So he came out and he'd got football signs.
Well, I'm not sure where the legal matter is of that. I know the police are involved. I know he was charged.
Still going
I'm not sure. I think he's denied knowledge that the footballs were fakes.
He has done that.
Yep. So that, I think, set up the chicken to decide that I wasn't his favourite person. And so later on, he went into another business which was around IV infusions. And he was saying to the public, for a $300 IV infusion, he could make your skin brighter.
Brighter.
Mm-hmm.
The chicken was saying that. Mm-hmm.
Well, that was the product. He was offering skin brightening IV infusions.
I see.
And we rolled up to Bay Street to see if the chicken would speak to us.
Did he have a stethoscope around his neck or coat, or was he in an ambulance, or what was he? Just in a medical car?
We wanted
with a light on the top of it.
We wanted to speak to Dr. Chicken. We wanted
Dr. Chicken.
Dr. Chicken. So we sat sort of up from his property at Bay Street, Port Melbourne. He comes out of his house, and I can't know whether he had seen us or not, but he could have turned back towards the city, and we probably never would have caught him.
You wouldn't have chased him?
Probably not, because it was a long way. Instead, he turns in the direction of where we were waiting and walks towards me, and the tape shows he changes directions a few times, and then his elbow comes up and I cop one in the face.
I see. Would you think that's just a rub of the course in the industry you're in, or do you take exception to that, Seb?
I think I was a bit shocked on the day. I was a bit shocked, but do I look back at it now and say what a great injustice? I mean, we do a risky job.
Did you get to ask him a question about
I asked him,
Dr. Chook clearing up his skin? Professor Chook?
I said to Professor Chook, how do you make someone's skin brighter? Mm-hmm. And that was the point at which he... And
then he punched you.
There was the incident, the footage that's famous.
He rings in.
What? He then goes back into his apartment for 4 or 5 minutes and then comes charging back out onto the street. And by this stage, I had a prearranged telephone chat with our mutual friend, Dee Dee Dunleavy, who is a champion, and she was hosting 3AW afternoons at the time. And I was supposed to talk to her that day about Rex because Rex had... I think he was having some personal issues at the time. Yeah. Anyway, it obviously becomes about what had just happened in Bay Street.
What were Rex's issues? What were you speaking? Had he been driving down the street with his underpants over his head, or what had happened to him?
I think he'd. Look, that's his story.
But I'd spoken
to him.
I've driven down the street with my underpants over my head.
I'm not sure. Did Rex ever do that? I hadn't heard.
No, it was just a throwaway line. It's like Dr. Chook and the Pimple Popper and Botched. You ever watched any of those? Ever watched the Doctor? You watched the Pimple Popper?
Yes, I have.
Oh, it's fantastic.
It's satisfying.
This woman cuts open people's lumps on their body and squeezes out litres of pus. It is, you want to make sure you have had your evening meal before you watch it, but it is fascinating. It is. And then Botched. Have you ever seen Botched? People come in, the most deformed looking people, and God love them, they tuck and twist and cut out and paste, and people think, oh, I look beautiful. They still look shit-house, but they look better than they did when they walked in. Botched and Dr. Pimple Popper. It's fantastic. Anyhow, the Chook could be the Clearasil man.
Are you
Dr.
bringing
Chook.
up random TV shows to pad for time in the hope that Ricky Nixon brings you back?
No. What? Has he rung? He texted. Oh. Sorry, so go ahead. This is live. See, we do this live. You've done this. So this is Sue, the researcher here, Sue Stanley, OAM. He isn't fighting anymore, Sue. Oh, I cancelled it as he is looking at concussion testing from the AFL days and needs to not to do anything to jeopardise future claims. Oh, I see. So he's opted out of fighting someone because he thinks it'll be deleterious to his business of CTE, getting punched in the head. How can he be a spokesman for people being punched in the head and advocating for them if he, in fact, is trying to punch people in the head? That's basically it, isn't it, Sue? Yep. Did you understand any of that?
No, who are we talking about?
Ricky Nixon.
So Ricky Nixon is not...
Is that right? No, that's Warwick Kappa. Sorry, Seb, I just didn't see it. I was just, as we were talking about Ricky Nixon and you sent me a text, I thought you were sending me a text about, Warwick, the fight with Ricky, the Chook could be on, the Chook and Seb.
Well... That's your suggestion. I don't think that's who I had in mind when I spoke to the guys at Team Ellis. But, I think, look, it's something that puts me out of my comfort zone. It's something that doing a competitive boxing fight. And you've been to some of the Team Ellis events. I think they're the best young boxing promoters in the country. Tai Tuinua, Anthony Topic, Tommy the Gun Fitzgerald. It's just a great crew, and I'm looking forward to working with them.
And so you've been on the heavy bag, or can you do that? Can you do all that? That's
the speedball.
Yeah, the speedball.
Yeah.
Have you done that?
Mainly it's been
that gets you up and about the speed. I used to do the speedball down at Geelong when we were training. And you a southpaw, or you just a regular?
I am a southpaw.
Are you? You jab with the right?
I do.
Wow. Well, the art of a southpaw fighting someone who's an orthodox, that you lead with your right foot, and then you put your right foot on their foot as they lead, and you hold their foot down with your foot until the referee gets onto it. And if you can get them static there, you can belt the living suitcase out of them. Yeah. And you're a jabber, eh? You're not just a whale, don't just whale in, you just jab, do you? Jab? Yeah.
I've got a lot of work to do, but Sam Solomon, who's training me, the great King Sam Solomon, we're going through our paces, and he still was active well into his late 40s, and is just a tremendous athlete, great guy too.
And what would you call yourself? The Seb the Swoon, or the what would you call yourself?
What about the chicken carver?
The chicken carver, yeah. Costello the clown. No, Seb the swoon. And you have the big trunks, you get them tailor-made, would you? The silk trunks, that you wear.
Yeah, so you're thinking far further ahead. I intend to fight in August. I hope I get there, but there's a lot of hard work to do in the meantime. I've actually, to get to this point, lost 19 kilos in the last 12 months or so, Sam. 19 kilos.
So you're a fat little fucker, were you? 19 kilos. That's extraordinary. That's about as much as a light commercial vehicle. What, 19 kilos? How heavy are you?
Now, I'm a lean, mean 98 kilos now.
98?
But, yeah, so I got well up. Yeah, I was
You're
fat. I was.
120 kilograms. Christ.
I was fat.
That is extraordinary.
What do you weigh?
Oh, 94.
Oh, yeah, you're lighter than me. I've got more muscle mass, though.
Well, you probably have, once you get to 80, your muscle mass drops off, probably.
You're not 80.
Yeah, I'm 80. Mind you, I'll be happy to take my shirt off in a minute, and we'll stand in front of the thing there. Eh?
No,
oh, no.
I'm pretty happy with how I'm looking.
Not for me. And that's right. We want the people, we want people to have a look at the great Seb Costello, the man who's been maligned and been the subject of an investigation, an intense investigation by Jim and Jim from the Australian. I'd love to see Jim and Jim. Have you ever seen them? I've just looked at photos of them.
I tried to call James Madden yesterday to have a discussion
Really?
about... I did.
You've taken it to heart.
I wanted to have a chat to him about some things. And
about the interview?
He didn't take my call or return it.
Oh, gee. Ask him if he wants to come in and have a chat on the podcast. I'd love to have a chat.
Do you want to call him?
Hey?
You can try and call him if you want.
Oh, I don't have his number.
I could probably change that. See if where's my phone. Do you want to call him?
Now?
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy to call him now.
Okay. Just I don't want to block the number in case the chicken rings in. But can you ring off your phone?
What?
Do you mind ringing off your phone?
Why?
Well,
you've already rung him.
But I don't want to ring him on my number.
Well, whose number did you ring him on the last time?
Mine.
No, I've missed something here. So what's the matter if I ring him on your number again?
Well, he's going to look like this was my idea. It kind of was, I suppose. But we didn't talk about this in advance.
Wait, so you want me to ring on my number?
Why not?
It's going well, this. How exciting is this?
Interesting. Are you going to leave a message?
What? I'm going to leave a message?
Yeah, well, I don't know. There's the number. See how you go.
Well, hang on a minute. Shit, you've got me all at... hang on. Will I read it out?
No, don't read it out.
I won't read it out.
Seb.Costello on Instagram is the handle. James. So Sam's on the phone. Oh, it's ringing.
Hi, you've called James Madden. Please leave a message.
Jim, it's your old China, Sam Newman. I'm here doing a podcast with Seb Costello, and I thought I'd just like to call in, and if you'd like me to put you on speakerphone, you can be part of the conversation. Apparently you haven't rung Seb back. He said he tried to get hold of you. Anyhow, all the best, Jimmy. And thanks so much for the shout-out the other day, mate. We can't believe our luck, and I owe you. If there's anything I can do for you sometime, let me know, will you? Well, there we are, so can't be fairer than that. Was that his number? Well, it was his number. He said that. Did that come through? Did that come through then? Yeah. All right, well, Well, no, we need the chicken to ring in, and the whole thing will be
Complete
going
the set.
beautifully. All right, so you're doing
All right.
so now. I don't know. This is so. Let's just see if we can get something out of this constructive before they think, well, have a look at these two wankers. You interviewed. Who would you like to have interviewed that you didn't over the course of what you were doing in all the tranche? I think that's the word, the tranche, which is a whole gambit of things that you've done, a tranche of things that you've done on a current affair and being the overseas reporter and everything else that you've done. Who would you like to have interviewed? Who have you found cantankerous? Who's knocked you back? Who have you got on with? Who do you admire? Who do you appreciate? And what are the controversies that you've been involved in? I noticed that, did you ever speak to someone called Cocaine Cassie?
I never spoke to her. No, Cassie Sainsbury was probably the biggest story I covered. She was a 22-year-old girl from Adelaide who was caught in Bogota Airport in 2017 with, I think, just over 6 kilograms of cocaine in her luggage. And I had been flown over to London to begin my work as the London correspondent for Channel 9, and I got a call at midnight London time saying the Los Angeles bureau can't make it to Bogota, so you're going. And I think I was there for about a month and a half as this story just became bigger than Ben-Hur. It was the new Chappelle Corby, really. Did she do it? Didn't she do it? And it was a fascinating story. She was being kept in a women's prison called El Buen Pastor prison, which was located, if Bogota was Melbourne, it would be like having a prison with open-air balconies on Burke Street.
Oh, yeah.
It was sort of right in the middle of the city, and people could walk up to the prison and wave at the prisoners and sort of throw presents at them. Like, it was just a extraordinarily different correction system to ours. But what unfolded was fascinating. Cassie had told us, if you remember this, she had sort of portrayed herself through various press messages as being a personal trainer from rural South Australia who had decided to travel to Bogota to purchase wedding presents for her wedding party in her upcoming nuptials.
Yeah. And she was just having the wedding, she thought, paid for by smuggling in crack or maybe cocaine in her crack. Well, bringing cocaine in. That'll go over well in the Australian. I shouldn't have made that reference. That's just, go on.
But anyway, the story unfolded in a way that raised a lot of questions. I remember when I arrived at Bogota, I sort of pieced together that Cassie had stayed in this hotel downtown.
Yep.
And I interviewed the manager, a woman named Rosada, who said she completely remembered Cassie from the week or two earlier because Cassie had said something very strange to her. She'd come in and she'd said to Rosada, I'm booking in for 4 or 5 nights, but I might not be here every evening. And Rosada thought that's a bit weird. And then, as it transpired, Rosada told me that Cassie didn't leave the hotel at all and had a number of visitors to her room. So we're already thinking if she was flying to Bogota to purchase wedding presents, it's a bit weird that she hadn't left the hotel.
Maybe could have got Amazon to deliver them, or IPEC, or FedEx.
Possibly. And then we started to hear that perhaps Cassie's work history was not as she had portrayed it.
Right. Where is she at the minute?
I think she's back in South Australia.
Is she?
I think. So
And all is forgiven.
we were given a tip-off that rather than being a personal trainer from Adelaide, that prior to her trip to Colombia, she had worked in a brothel. And I'm certainly not judging that type of work, but it goes to
sex work is very important. Absolutely.
It goes to whether her story was true. And so I was in Bogota and a team in Australia were both working together to try and fact-check everything we knew about Cassie Sainsbury. And we were desperately trying to speak to somebody who had worked with her in the brothel, somebody that had perhaps seen her in the brothel. And in the end, the only way we were able to get a meeting with somebody who may have known her was to send one of the staff down to the establishment in question.
Yeah, it's the most long-winded. Go on.
Posing as a customer, so he could have some time.
Oh, yes.
Have some time with this colleague. It wasn't entrapment. No, they knew the person was coming.
Oh, I see.
But they just didn't want to be seen with them out and about in New South Wales.
A bit like me when I rang up Jimmy. You didn't want your phone number to come in. You wanted me to do it on my phone. Yeah.
So anyway, the person, bravely, whatever, they trusted our staff member in New South Wales, and they confirmed, yes, that Cassie had worked in the brothel. Again, not judging her, but that blew the whole thing open because she had claimed to be this personal trainer who was desperately in love with this guy, and this whole trip was because of wedding presents. And in the end, it turned out that, she lived a more colourful life, if you like, than that. And that completely turned the story on its head. You asked. I don't know. I wasn't expecting to tell that story.
No, and tell it you did. And I tell you what the Australian took exception at is when, just a throwaway line, I said, did you engage in the Bolivian booger sugar? And, they thought that was outrageous. I think they thought that was outrageous. I don't know. That's just a throwaway line saying, did you ever take drugs? We're not asking you. People ask me. I say, I'm never off them. I can't get by unless I'm on them constantly. Just finally, we've nearly done this for an hour speaking absolute shit. So Seb, who struck you as hard to do, hard to talk to, you liked, who impressed you? What one other controversy that doesn't go on for 12 minutes like Cassie from Cocaine Heaven went on for?
You asked.
Yeah, I know.
I think the most interesting person I interviewed was David Attenborough.
What a star.
A legend. And at this stage, he was launching one of his Blue Planet docos in London. I think he was 92, 93. Upright, lucid, intelligent, passionate.
90-year-old man. I went and saw him at Jeff's Shed when the Channel 9... fancy, this is a sign of, Ray Martin, he did a two-man show with David Attenborough, and Ray introduced various things on the big screen, and he spoke about them, the ecology of the world and where it's headed, and animals and how they film things. What a man he is.
He's a legend. And the other legend, and you were closer to him than I was, but I knew him pretty well, was the great Shane Keith Warne.
Oh, yes.
And my favourite story of Warney was I was hosting Triple M breakfast. Eddie Maguire was on holidays, and it was me and the comedian Lawrence Mooney. And we're doing the show, starts at 6, goes to 8, gets to about 8 o'clock, and Warney rings and says, I'm coming in. And we hadn't sort of discussed this at all. And he said, no, I'm coming in. And I said, Shane, what's going on? And it was December, because the guys were on summer holidays. We're doing the summer. And he needed to get a Christmas present for his daughters, and he had no idea what he wanted to get them. And he wanted the Triple M audience to give him some ideas. So lo and behold, he shows up unannounced, probably the greatest cricketer Australia's ever produced. He shows up and he says, all right, guys, Melbourne, I need your help. What should I get my daughters for Christmas? And we just had a great hour, laughing and talking about family. And he was, one of a kind.
He is a star.
Yep.
You might have thought I wasn't paying absolute attention to that, but I was listening out of one ear. And we've just got this. Don't have to worry. This is. We're going to ring this man here. Don't worry, that we're not setting you up. So just ask him. Just see if he answers the phone. Just a minute. Whizzer? Now, Wiz, can I quickly tell you, I got you on speakerphone, and we're doing a podcast, and I'm here with the great Seb Costello, and he wanted to say hello.
Hello, Sebby.
Whizzer, how are you, my friend?
I remember Sebby. He was on the news, wasn't he?
What are you on?
I've just got out of bed. I'm about to go for a run.
You've just got out of bed. Yeah. Now, Seb's started to do some boxing training, and we thought you were going to fight someone, but you're not going to fight anymore. Is that real?
Yeah, I'm not going to now because I'm doing an MRI for the AFL for the head knocks.
Yeah, so you can't be seen to be punching the shit out of someone when you're telling people not to punch the shit out of others.
You got a point, so I'm going to do that. So I'm doing tests for AFL, see if my head's all right. I've done like clappers in front of my head a few times. They're going, you'll be...
Do you ever get out of bed this late usually?
No, but I had a late night.
What did you do last night, out regaling people with stories?
Yeah, I put a couple of shots away last night, so I had a little late night, mate. Played pool, won 5 games out of 1, and had to go for a little 10K bike ride, and then get the bicep fixed up. Have an operation because I snapped the bicep, not doing weights, not warming up.
Well, Seb was a bit disappointed. He was looking forward to stepping into the ring and see if he could take you down a peg.
Yeah, it's a bit like Jeff Fennick. What's the difference between Jeff Fennick and Gavin Powell? Nothing. You've both been beaten around the ring. Caps goes boom. It's a bit like Ricky Nixon goes boom.
Well, we've been speaking about Ricky. Why don't you fight Ricky?
That'd be funny, wouldn't it? But we're sort of friends now. We made up, so we're okay now.
But you can still be friends with someone and have a fight with them.
Yeah, I might do it. I'll do it next year after the case because I want to get my head right first.
Your head right?
Oh, I hit the ground a few times, forget a few things, but like yourself.
Have you got CTE from playing football, Wiz?
Yeah, I might have. I had a test 10, 15 years ago, but they reckon I passed. So.
What was it, an IQ test?
I'll do the funny stuff, mate.
No, what was it? What sort of test was it, I mean?
No, just concussion, see if you're okay with the CTI and see if your head's all right.
What's the door of a fence called?
Because I forget I don't know.
A gate.
Oh, yeah, I've got a point, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, well, if you can't answer that, I'd go and get tested more.
Yeah, I was in Dad's Beijing in Baghdad, Samuel. I was going to come in your boat a couple of weeks for a bit of a ride. I haven't seen it for a while.
Oh, well, we're just waiting for you. People just flock to the boat when they know you're going to be, when you're on it. See, they still got the... All right, we'll let you go. You still got the 6-pack going?
Yeah, going good, mate. Going for a ride now. I'll go to the gym up the road, so I'll ride the push by there.
Anyhow, Seb wanted to say hello to you, but hasn't spoken one word to you.
How you going, Seb? Going all right?
Where's going well, mate? Yes. Sorry to hear about the boxing fight being called off, but maybe if you have a night off in August, would you be in my corner?
Yeah, that'd be right, mate.
That'd be great.
Oh, well, you'd have to pay him. Warwick doesn't get out of bed. Well, obviously, no one's paid you. You don't get out of bed for under 10 grand.
You got a point. I'll go all right.
Righto, Wiz. Good on you, mate.
Segway. See you, Seb.
See.
Good on you, Wiz. See you, mate.
Yes, good boy.
Thanks, mate. See you, Timmy.
Yes, see you again. He still said see you again. I don't know if anyone heard that. Could you hear that? That's the great Wiz. I was hoping I could do that with Ricky Nixon and, of course, with Jimmy. Who did I ring? Jim Manning.
James Madden.
Madden? Did I?
Yep.
No, I didn't ring James Madden. I rang Jim Manning, didn't I?
You rang James Madden.
Oh, shit. Did I? Well, lucky they're both called Jim. Anyhow.
What did the Australian call our interview again? What was the expression they used?
A train wreck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was cleaning up my daughter's toys the other day.
You got a daughter?
I do.
I see.
I do. And I thought I'd bring you a present. Just so...
Train wreck.
So
we'll put it up on here. We've got plenty of things.
So you can always remember our first podcast together, Sam.
A train wreck. Gee, Jim and Jim and Jim. And look at that. You've made us stars. Because we were no one before you wrote about us. Everyone knew who you were. Two of the most insignificant and irrelevant people probably in the media, but we've put you on the map. Anyhow, there we are. Seb, what a delight. I'm not sure that we could do this for a third time. I think we've just about fucked. I know there's nothing else we can speak about. But anyhow, thanks for coming in again. And Seb Costello, Sebastian Costello. What was your dad thinking?
I think my mum chose my name.
Not a bad name. Good name.
Yeah.
Seb. Okay, Sebastian, that's it.